So yes, it's 5 o'clock and I'm happy to welcome you all for this mega webinar and which is a third episode of IFC, third episode of D2O Learning webinar series. That session which will be on IFC's Edge enabling green buildings and green finance. All right, so let me share my presentation and then I will take you through with various things and my friend who joined from IFC, he will take you from different part of the presentations. So it's all our third episode, as I mentioned, and we are starting from today. We are starting right now. Hope my voice and video is clear to everyone. So today's session is on IFC's Edge, enabling green buildings and green finance. Just a minute. Yeah. So before starting the session, there's a housekeeping rules for all you people. Already I have kept you on mute and the video is off, but still, if we give the rights to on the session, please keep yourself mute when you are not speaking and keep your cameras off when the presentation starts. And use headphones for best learning experience for this session. Q&A will be in the end of the sessions, and my colleague or my friend from IFC, they will he will give you all the answers which you will take. All right, so before starting, we have some poll question for you people. Let me share my screen, the poll part, and I believe you people will participate in this poll. So I'm just presenting my screen, and if you people just respond, I request to all the people, please go to menti.com. All right, I'm just
Anuj, your screen is not coming.
Yeah, I'm putting on my screen. Hope my screen is visible now. I request to all, please just go to menti.com and put the code 21981643. If you just go to menti.com, use the code 21981643. And there's a one question you will get. Have you heard about Edge and worked on Edge app? So if you people just respond on it, that would be great. Have you heard about Edge and worked on Edge app? Just give it the heads up if you people are aware about it or not. Okay, one person has responded and that person is aware about Edge app and they have worked on it. I request other people, please go and respond on it. That is on the real time. If you people just responded so that accordingly our speaker will cover the today's session. Okay, so it would be great if you just people. So we have received the 5 responses. I request to all the people, please go to menti.com. The code is visible on the screen 21981643. 21981643 and put your answers. All right, so we have 2 people who have are aware about the Edge and they have worked on Edge app as well. 2 people are aware about it, but they have not worked on it. 5 people are not aware about it. 5 people are not aware about it. What is never heard? And guys, please, if my background sound is coming something, so please ignore that because there is some construction activities happening nearby my house. So please, if any background sound is coming from my end, please excuse me. All right. But yes, once we will have a speaker on board, then sound will not come. All right. So 2 people have responded. Yes, they have worked on it. They are aware about it. 4 people are aware about it, but not worked on it. 12 people are not aware about it, and 5 never heard about it. What is Edge and Edge app? All right, all right. So let me see how many people are there right now. Ashu, can you just give me heads up, like how many people are there and how many people are rest?
More than 51 people we have right now, and the people, great. 24 people has 23 people has responded.
So I need a minimum 50%. I think so. We have received the 50% responses. So if you people just give me the 60% responses, I will close this and we will move forward for the session. Give me just 30 heads up, 30 people, so that we will start our session. A request to all whoever joined just now, just go to menti.com, menti.com, which is on the screen, and use the codes 21981643. And you just people have to give the answer of this. Have you heard about Edge and worked on Edge app? All right. So I think now responding now, no problem. Let's start. I think so we can start. So we have received 2, 5, 14, 6. So that's how people, most of the people are not aware about it. And some people are aware about it, but not worked, explored it further. So accordingly, our speaker will cover today's session. Perfect. Thank you so much, guys, for being so participative. Let me start my further screen. Perfect. Uh, I'm coming back to my screen so that I can introduce our today's speaker. Just a minute. Perfect. Perfect. Yeah. So poll is done. So we have received a great responses. Thank you. And let's move on to the next part. This is a video. Just have a look on this video. I think my voice, the video sound is not coming. Uh,
Right.
Let me include. Yeah, it will be fine now.
The world is growing, and we all share this planet. We need our resources. It's up to us to protect them. By using less, we gain more. Let's think differently. Let's be practical and smart. With the right solution, we can design a better future for all. Why not work together on this? Why not start now? It's faster, easier, and more affordable than we think. We are the architects of a brighter tomorrow, where every building can be more profitable. Every building can be green. The future is ours to make. Build and brand green with Edge.
All right. So I think so. This video has set a tone for the today's session, all which is going to all about Edge, the IFCs, which how we can use the Edge app, and what is green finance. So that we, my friend from IFC, will cover. So let me give a introduction about Sandeep Singh Gaur. So Sandeep has an MBA from the University of Georgia, Terry College of Business, Georgia, USA, and a Bachelor of Architecture from the School of Planning and Architecture, New Delhi. Currently, he is a leading the business development initiative nationally for IFC for its Edge Green Building Transformation Program. He is frequently quoted in India media for expert comments on real estate. He has been invited as an expert speaker at several international and national conferences such as MIPIM, GRI, GLG, FICCI, CI, etc. If you want to connect with Sandeep, I request all the people, please just go to LinkedIn and you can connect. You just put Sandeep Singh Gaur and you can connect with him. So I think this is the content for today. I'm just giving a heads up for the content. So we will cover today the about IFC, about Edge Global and India footprint, Edge alignment with green finance standards, Edge certification, case studies, and Edge app demo. So I request all the people, do not leave out the session, do not leave out this room, this virtual room that you are entered right now, because we are going to have a very interactive things today. We will cover the Edge app demo as well. So please do not leave out this room. So let's start. If you people are started, like if your people are ready, just put ready in the chat box. I think the chat box is available to all the people. If you can just put the ready, READY, ready in the chat box so that our speaker can get some boost and myself also can get some boost and we will start the session. So just everyone, please put ready in the chat box and then we will start the session. All right, so let me come out from this presentation. And Sandeep, if you're there, I request you all, please take it forward from here.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anuj. That was a thanks for the kind introduction, and that was a very, very creative way of doing the poll. I really liked the little graphics on top.
Thank you.
And not to my surprise, a lot of the people, while they are, technically very sound, a lot of them have not heard about Edge because Edge is a relatively new entrant in the green building certification space. And I'll start my presentation and I'll give you the context of why IFC got into this space in the first place. Because IFC essentially is a development finance organization. So with that, let me just share my screen and we will get started. Is my screen visible to all?
Yes, Sandeep, it is visible.
Okay, great, great. So, you know, in the context of why IFC got into it, I will just give a quick anecdote. My son studies in Canada, and I was just, 1 week ago or 10 days ago, I was talking to him, and he said, it's really hot out here and it's 44 degrees. And I was surprised. And then I read the news that there's such a massive heat wave sweeping across the North American continent. And when you and I think of Canada, it's a cold place. When my son was going, we were busy buying a lot of winter jackets and big boots and all that. And the temperature went there 49.3 degrees centigrade. It has never happened in the history of the world. In that country, the temperature going that high. I think the last time it went in 1930s, it went to about 43 degrees centigrade, and this was in British Columbia, which is where my son is. So why is this happening? This is happening clearly because of climate change, and as responsible citizens, and if we want to pass on this heritage of this world, this civilization to our children and the future generations, we must do something about it. In this heat wave, when I was reading the news, hundreds of people have died. But also what I read was over 100 crore marine animals would have been boiled to death because this temperature of 49.3 degrees was continuously like that for over 3 days. So climate change is a major challenge in front of us as human beings, as a civilization. So we must all address that. So let me give you a quick background about our organization, IFC, International Finance Corporation, as you know, is part of the World Bank Group. Most people, when they think of World Bank Group, they think of one entity, but that's not the case. It's a cluster of organizations, as you see. IFC's role, if I have to summarize in just one sentence, we are a development finance institution which focuses on activating the private sector. The other parts of the bank mostly focus on the government. We focus on activating the private sector for the purposes of development, primarily in the emerging markets. Now, talking about climate change and the heat wave in Canada and all that, when IFC was looking at the overall aspect of development and development finance, we realized climate change is going to be a biggest challenge in front of this human civilization in the next few years itself and decades. And that's why I'll just give you some quick facts. So if you look at the overall carbon dioxide emissions in the world, 39% come from the building sector. That's almost 40% come from the building sector. That's the operating part of the buildings and the construction part of the buildings both put together. But the lion's share of that 39% is actually the operating part. So which is why IFC identified that as a major focus area, and we came up with something we call Green Building Market Transformation Program. Now, 39% of overall greenhouse gases, and you juxtapose that fact with the fact that in the next 3.5 decades, the total floor space in the world is going to just double. Whatever amount of floor space that exists in the world today will be 2x that number, and most of this will come from the emerging markets. And hence, we put up this Green Building Market Transformation Program. It has a 4-part strategy. The top 2 boxes, as you see, are focused on investment. We invest with our partner banks and help them come out with green financing products, such as green bonds, green mortgages for home loans. We also invest with developers and owners of buildings. We also handhold certain governments where the policies and the incentives are not framed properly, or they're not framed at all. We advise the governments and help them in formulating those. And at the center of all this is the EDGE certification, which we are going to talk about today. Now, if we have to quickly look at the numbers, we have so far, the smaller numbers in the top row, in each of the boxes that you see, those are global numbers. The larger numbers are India-specific numbers. So $135 million have been invested with partner banks. Over $650 million have been invested with developers and owners of buildings. We're working with various governments and municipal corporations, state governments across the country. And we have a footprint of about 6.5 million square meters in India for EDGE. So talking about footprint, EDGE is the fastest growing green building certification system in the world today. It was started about 6 years back. And as you see, it has gained major traction. As you see on the graph here, it has gained major traction in the last 3 years. The compounded annual growth rate in the last 3 years is more than 100% here. And about 64 million square meters is the global footprint. On the map, what you see as green marked areas, those are primarily emerging markets. But having said that, now, as we speak, version 3 of EDGE has come out. It's available on the app today, and all the countries in the world are covered now. The footprint in India is pretty big now, about 6.5 million square meters is total footprint. And if the compounded growth rate in the last 3 years here is much more than 100% also, especially in the last 2 years, as you see, the growth has been significant. We cover about 65 cities in India. So it's a technology backbone of the EDGE app, which is what enables it to cater to all property types and all major localities, and still staying in context of the local climate, local practices, and that is enabled through this technology backbone. So the database covers 65 cities in India. Chances are wherever you guys have a project, or are you advising one, or you're building one, we are already there. And in case you end up looking for EDGE support in a city which is not covered yet, you can contact us and we'll see how we can support you in that city. So that brings us to the green finance section. And that is something that many of you are probably interested, as if I understand Anuj's requirement, he wanted a lot of focus on green finance. So what is green finance? Green finance is any type of finance in the real estate sector, is what that is the context. It can be outside of real estate sector as well. Typically, when we talk about finance, there are multiple types of finances. There are bonds, there is construction finance, there are green mortgages. So all of these can be of the green type. What does that mean? That there is certain criteria that the proceeds of this finance, the fund that you raise through these financing mechanisms, that fund will be used towards some green purpose. And that is totally compliant. All the major bodies in the world, except that. I'll come to that in just a minute. Here we have certain case studies which are on the screen. So many of these companies have raised green finance globally. I don't want to get into the details of each. There are several case studies available on the edgebuildings.com website, which is our website. Now, how does EDGE enable green finance? All of the green finance regulating bodies globally, they all accept EDGE as a standard, whether it's GRESB, International Capital Markets Association, Climate Bonds Initiative, CDP, all of these, even EU taxonomy, all of them accept EDGE as a standard for green projects. The reason is that it is a certification system that has been developed by a financial institution. So it really caters to all the requirements that were set up as part of the green financing standards and benchmarks. So let's say, how does EDGE help in green bond issuance? So green bond is like any other bond, just that it, out of the various criteria, one criteria has to be that the proceeds will be used for green purposes. Now, how do you define those green purposes? It can become very cumbersome. How do you convince your investors that the proceeds are actually going into something green? EDGE makes it very simple. All you have to say is that the proceeds will go into a project which will be EDGE certified. That establishes the criteria clearly. The global benchmarking and green finance standards institutions, they all accept EDGE, and that serves your purpose. In certain cases, if IFC is an investor, EDGE can work as a second opinion also in green financing. And finally, when the funds are raised and deployed, usually, actually mandatorily, you have to demonstrate compliance with the conditions. And showing compliance with EDGE is also very simple. All you have to do is complete your certification process. The moment you get your EDGE certificate, you can demonstrate compliance just through that certificate. So it makes it very, very simple, and removes the entire complexity about setting up the criteria and demonstrating green end-use compliance. From a reporting perspective, most of the green finance institutions, they require environmental impact reporting, and that is what EDGE supports directly. So in case you or one of your clients are looking to raise some green finance, there can be certain support and expert opinion given from the IFC side as well. We have some case studies here, how various companies across the globe have raised green finance in recent past. Bank Colombia, which is one of the most premier bank in the country of Colombia, they raised 2 green bonds, which were oversubscribed by almost 3 times. Now, what does this tell us? This tells us that the market, the global institutional investors, have already moved towards green. They have more and more global pension funds or sovereign funds. They have increased their internal commitments towards green financing, sustainable finance. So let's say if a sovereign fund was earlier investing 20% of their overall corpus in green projects, now maybe they have gone to 30 or 35%. So that's just an example that I'm giving, but that is the trend. But availability of green projects for investing is still not there. And that is why most of these issuances that have happened in the last few years have been oversubscribed significantly. So Bank Colombia raised more than $400 million, and then downstream, it is offering various green financing to their clients. They can be developers who get green construction finance. And there is a significant benefit, up from 0.5% to about 2%, less than conventional market rates. Now, this may not be true in all countries, but this is usually the case when the market becomes a little bit more mature. A lot of you would be thinking, will we get the similar discounting in India? I don't know. At the moment, our market is very, very nascent, but there are entities which are already moving in that direction, and chances are that there will be some benefit. The bank also offered a discounted mortgage for home buyers, a green mortgage, and there the benefit to the customer was about 65 basis points. The result was about 15,000 homes were green certified, and the bank got most sustainable bank award from Dow Jones Index. Another example from an emerging market, Kenya's first green bond was issued by a student housing developer called Econ, and they raised about $50 million. And the criteria here was, again, the projects had to be EDGE certified. They won the CBI, the Climate Bonds Initiative Green Bond Pioneer Award. And the country overall is moving towards, is promoting green development and hence green finance. So they have made interest from green bonds tax exempt. So that creates that creates a structural change in the market, and these are sort of sign of things to come here also, and they will happen globally because more and more governments globally are recognizing that climate change is such a major problem. They really have to act now. So if you're advising a developer or if you are a developer, usually the projects take 3, 4, 5 years to finish. You don't want to be caught in a situation that the government comes up with certain incentives or benefits to green projects, and you are not one of them. You are not qualified because you didn't plan for that. So I think, from a risk mitigation perspective, from a future proofing perspective, we have to all consider developing green. Mexico's residential developer, Vinte, certified its entire portfolio with Edge, and they raised a green bond about $35 million to finance these projects. Closer home, in India, HSBC invested 130 million in a green loan, which is not a green bond, but a similar, just a refinancing, but linked to a green criteria and a green compliance. Here again, the criteria was EDGE certified. Indospace had all its warehouses EDGE certified. These were fairly recently built warehouses, and the financing was for refinancing or taking over of an existing loan. So their entire portfolio is getting EDGE certified, whatever they knew they're building, and the rest of it is already certified. So that covers the green finance part. Now let's come to what is EDGE certification, because as the poll in the beginning told us that a lot of the people are not aware of EDGE certification. So EDGE is a technologically enabled green building certification system, which is designed for measuring environmental impact, and it's laser focused on resource efficiency. When IFC decided to focus on climate change as a major focus area, and incidentally, if you look at 39% of overall greenhouse gases coming from the building sector, we also realized that tackling the building sector is probably the easiest, provided there is a very clean and focused criteria or a certification system or a benchmarking system available so that we can say what is green and what is not. But when we looked around, we did not find any such certification system existing. And that is why we had to come up with our own, because otherwise IFC is a development finance institution. We will not get into it because it's a lucrative business, right? So when we decided to get into it, we said, okay, these are the focus 3 criteria that we want our system or any system ideally should have. We didn't find any, so that's why we created ours. The performance has to be measured against a local baseline because of the existing market conditions, because of the climatological conditions. Each city has its own signature, right? So, if you're building something in Jaipur versus you're building something in Bangalore, the building design, everything will be different. Hence, your green certification system has to compare it to the local baseline and then be better than it, improve the performance compared to what is happening locally at that point in time. Second point is, you can't proclaim that, okay, I'm doing all these things and hence, my project is green. It has to be certified by a third party, reputable third party certifier has to audit the whole thing and then certify that, yes, this project complies with all these requirements. And then finally, there has to be environmental impact reporting, which has to be absolutely quantified. Most of the other certification systems are point-based systems. They have trade-offs. So you do very well in one aspect and you don't do so well in the other aspect, you still get average points, right? Edge doesn't do that. Edge says that these are my three focus areas: energy, water, and materials. Independently in each of them, we have to do better than the local baseline. So you have to be 20% better in energy, you have to be 20% better in water, and 20% better in materials. With materials, what I mean is the embodied energy within the materials, which the concept here that we take is the cradle to gate concept. So let's say the material was excavated from a mine, then transported to a factory. Then in that factory, where there were various processes that were implemented, and finally the finished building material was shipped out of the factory gate. In that entire process, whatever energy got consumed is what we are calling as embodied energy. And this is in alignment with global standards. So you have to do 20% better in each of these three aspects compared to your local baseline. Once you do that, you qualify for the EDGE certification. You do 20% better in energy, 20% better in water, 20% better in material. But if you have higher ambitions to have a much more higher level of certification, you can go for EDGE Advanced, which requires 40% better compared to the local baseline in your energy efficiency. And the water and materials requirement remain the same at 20% or better. These two certification systems, EDGE certification and EDGE Advanced certification, these are both what we call design levels. So these are design level certifications. Of course, you can get a preliminary certification during the design stage, and then post completion of construction, there will be site audit, and then you get your final certification. But when I say design level, what it means is that you don't have to renew it. It's like when we purchase an air conditioner or we purchase an automobile, it comes with a certain performance reading or a performance value, which says that under standard conditions, this is the performance level of performance you win. So this is something similar that bases your design of the building, what materials, how your design is, what active and passive features you have used. This is the certification, this is the performance level that is expected out of this building. But if you want to go to the final frontier, which is called net zero or zero carbon, as we call it, then we have that as well. Zero carbon certification is an add-on on top of the EDGE Advanced certification. So first you have to have your EDGE Advanced certification, which means 40% energy savings and 20 and 20 in materials and water. Then over and above whatever energy requirement remains, you have to fulfill that with renewable energy, and hence meaning that you will have a zero carbon footprint of that building. Now we realize that, entirely renewable supply is probably not possible. So actually, renewable can be both on-site and off-site. But if there are any shortfalls, you can top it off with carbon offsets. So we have made it more practical from an implementation perspective as of today. As the market matures, this carbon offset option will probably go away in a few years' time, but today it is there. So how do you get a zero carbon certification? So you get your EDGE Advanced certification. Then we have to monitor 1 year of occupancy, at least. And after that 1 year of occupancy, two things are compared to each other. What are those two things? Your actual consumption of energy versus your purchase of renewable energy or your purchase of carbon offsets. When those two things match with each other, you get your zero carbon certification. Now, zero carbon is something that has to be renewed every 2 to 4 years so that the actual performance of the building stays relevant. So moving on, these are various, on the right hand side, you see various providers of carbon offsets. These are the various ways you can purchase carbon offsets. It's a global market, so there's sort of no limitation as to of country level boundaries. So all of this is available today as we speak. So what all does EDGE cover? Pretty much everything. Any building type that you can think of, EDGE covers that. Other than heavy industrial buildings, your light industrial, warehousing, everything gets covered. Hospitality, hotels, hospitals, retail, malls, residential apartments, offices, schools. Last month, we certified a stadium. We have certified various airports across the globe. So all building types that you can think of, they get covered. You can certify new buildings which are under construction at design stage. You can get preliminary certification itself. You can certify existing buildings if you think they are already qualifying, they are already built green, or if you are going in for retrofits and making sort of future proofing your buildings, then also you can get EDGE certification. And if you have a larger portfolio of buildings, then there are certain benefits that you get from the various certifiers. So what is the process? Process is, let's say if your building is in design stage or in construction stage, then first you register, there will be a design audit, and after that you will get your preliminary certificate. Once your construction is complete, there will be a final site audit, and you will get your EDGE certification. That is the process. Now, for zero carbon, we need, as I discussed earlier, you need 1 year of operation, and then we compare the consumption of energy and the purchase of renewables. If we have to touch upon the basic aspect, the key question that most of the clients ask, that how much will it cost? It costs a fraction of other comparable globally recognized certifications. Typical cost is about $10,000, but it can be significantly less for a project also. And for your zero carbon certification, it's about $500 for each time that you renew the certification. So, just a quick point I would like to make here. Why is it cheaper? It's not just cheaper, it is less time consuming as well. In many cases, we have seen that the certification time compared to other certification systems is just a fraction. It may be like even 20% of that. So from a time and cost perspective, why is it so much better? Because it's technologically enabled. There is a tool which we will see just now in some time, and it is backed by a technology backbone and has a very robust database at its back end, and it gives you live input. So the effort of any consultant or even certifiers and auditors is significantly reduced, and hence your costing comes down, and even time-wise, it becomes better. So this is a screenshot of the EDGE tool, and we will go there in just a few minutes. But I would just like to showcase here, how the look and feel of it. So this tool, EDGE tool, is free for everyone to use. All you have to do is come to the edgebuildings.com website, go to the tab called App, and register yourself. Once you register, you can use the tool free of cost. What it does is it gives you a baseline, and it gives you a list of features you can pick and choose to demonstrate your improvement above the baseline. So it will show you 2 bar charts for, let's say, here in this screenshot, here you see the energy tab, And this is the energy tab, color coded according to various types, various things that consume the energy. And for each one, it will show you an improved case as you pick and choose the features from the menu list, or whatever features you're designing, and simultaneously it will give you your base case utility cost. So this is the utility if it was the base case. If you don't use any green features in the building, this would be your utility cost in rupees per month per unit. When you do the improved case, it will show you reduction in the utility cost. So here we had about 2,500 rupees billing coming to a residential unit, let's say per month. That reduction, it gets reduced by about 1,143 rupees here. And it also shows you, because you used these features, you will have some capital expenditure upfront. So it also shows you how much of initial upfront cost you will incur to incorporate. In this case, it was there were a lot of passive measures that were used as opposed to active measures. And hence the incremental cost is actually negative. So you saved about 30,000 rupees per unit, and you were able to design green. So, this demonstrates that, or sort of busts the myth that building green is an expensive affair. It is not. In most of the cases, we have seen that, no matter how if you design smartly, it is less than 2% typically. In some cases, like in this extreme case, because of the passive features, it is actually coming negative. The app also tells you what is your break-even period. When will you get the payback of this incremental cost by the way of this reduction in the utility cost? Similarly, if you're doing a retrofit in an existing building and you're trying to certify an existing building for retrofits, you have the similar two bar charts. You have the improved case, but from the features list in the materials tab, you have to choose use of existing materials. So for each of the material, once you choose that, because it's an existing building, qualifying for the materials use is easy, and that's so that's the way that sort of signifies the whole ethos of how Edge was developed. It was developed keeping in mind practical aspects, real aspects. If a building is already existing and you're retrofitting it, that means you're trying to reduce the future energy consumption of this building. You're not touching the past. So that's a practical aspect. So that is how the whole Edge app has been designed. So with that, let me take you to the tool itself. This is the homepage for Edge Buildings. This is our website, edgebuildings.com. If you go here, there are various sections here. You can find different roles here. You can find certification, pricing. You can find the background, the business case. If you go under the projects tab, you will see a lot of case studies here. And how we will talk a little bit about this. You will see this is a new course here. There are Edge experts training. There's a new course here designed for greater efficiency. You can go here and learn about it, what the course is all about. And here is the tab for the app. So if I click on that, it takes me to this page, but I already have it open here. I might have been signed out. So let's just see. network is a little slow, so please bear with me. So when you open the app, this is how it looks like initially. And I have a project ready for you, which I will just open. Loading very slow. So I have picked a residential building, a sample building in the city of Mumbai. So when you go to the app, this is where you start. On the left-hand side, you have all of these options. And you can pick your building type, and they have sub options within them. And now we have selected residential. So this is a residential project. Now you can pick your country, pick your city, pick what type of building that is, income category. So we have taken up upper middle income category here. And then you can go to all of these tabs and fill the details of your building. Total project area, your name, everything that, because once you fill all of this will then finally be used in your certification. So it's very, very user friendly. While we have trained edge experts around the country, a lot of people can, have in-house people who get trained in this. And so you have additional sub projects here, and sub project details are there, which you can put. So, 5 similar buildings might be there. Then you put your building data. So here we have 18 storied residential towers, about 80 square meters of each unit, 2 bedrooms each, an assumption of occupancy of about 3. You can change any of these parameters. And when you go to the app and you pick your basic building type and other criteria, the app itself will fill a lot of the default values basis the survey that has been done in the background of that market and that building type. So it will be there, but you can put on the right hand side in this column, you can put your, so like, we had a 20 square meters bedroom, we changed to 22 here. So that's just an example. Then there are various other options, no AC systems here, there are no heating systems here. Then there are further detailed assumptions here, which you can, they are already filled in, but you can pick and choose whichever you have a value for. And then finally, at the bottom here, you can go to the next step, you save, you go to the next step, energy, then you come to the energy tab here. So this is the energy tab, which is color coded. Now, since we said that the building is not air conditioned already, it is breaking up the bar chart here into 2 different bar charts. So this is what you are building, but in an intelligent manner, the app is calculating, okay, you are not putting an AC system, but people who live here will finally put their units, right? So there will be some energy which will get consumed here. So it is tracking that energy as well, which you are not, from a CapEx perspective, you are not responsible for that, but it is still being tracked. So if you see, we have, there are these passive measures like window to wall ratio, 18%, that improves a little bit. We have external shading devices. And if you design the building from a passive perspective, passive solar architecture perspective, well, then you can save a lot on the capex as well as your energy consumption. So you design in a way that has natural ventilation. All of those things count here. So you see various very easy to use menu of features, which is color coded, and you have to go here and see, okay, some of the biggest ones, which are, let's say, lighting is a big problem. So what are we doing? Lighting is yellow, and we are providing light saving energy saving light bulbs. So all of these features are easy to use. And as you see on the top bar here, this is something that most of the architects and designers really like about it, whoever I have met. It gives you the base case of the utility, the reduction in the utility cost, and incremental capex. So by investing about 21,000 rupees per unit more, you are meeting Edge Advanced standard in this case. So it's very, very user friendly. And as you see, the overall app approach is very realistic. It's portraying what is there today. While this particular evaluation has been done on version 2.1.5, if I click here, you see that the version 3 is also available. So by October of this year, version 3 will become mandatory. Version 3 was launched in April. Between April and September, we have a period that you have the option of going either with the older version or with the newer version. If you go with the older version and register before October, so that means before September end, then you have 3 years for your final certification. So end of 2025 is what you will have. And a lot of the clients are right now choosing that because then, the baseline is a little bit higher here, of course. Moving on, the other tabs, such as water, low flow shower heads, low flow faucets everywhere, and dual flush water closets, recycling black water for flushing. All of these features you use and you're meeting the EDGE standard easily. So that is how it is. Similarly, you have the materials tab. You have various options here. So let's say what type of floor slab, we have all these options here. So you can have in situ RCC, you have fly ash in situ concrete. So all of these features are there. You can pick and choose, and you can give your own specifications of various features, and that's how you fulfill this requirement. And again, on the fly, it will keep calculating, what was your base case, and compared to that, what is your performance now? And this top bar will be cumulatively updated with each change that you make. So when I say cumulative, all of these things will be taken into account whenever you change anything. So that sort of was a quick tour of the Edge app. And just a few other things that, so when you select a certain things, you see these 3 dots here. When you click on them, you can actually, you see what type of documents you will have to upload. And you can actually also from here, you can actually see what is the standard that has been used. So your document requirements, everything, and then from here itself, you can apply for certification. Because basis the features that you have chosen, it will tell you what documents are required. So that brings us to the end of this demo. I have just a few more slides that I will cover. I'll go back to the presentation. So just a few more case studies. This is Century Pacific Tower in Philippines, one of the largest developers of office buildings in Philippines, Arthaland. This is their own headquarters. This was the first Edge zero carbon certification that we gave. Arthaland raised about 60 million through green bonds recently. They are committed to a full portfolio of zero carbon by 2050. So they've made that commitment. They are in this particular building. They had about 45% energy savings, and the rest of it was supplied through renewables or dedicated renewable offsite measure, and 64% savings in the water and 34% savings in the embodied energy of materials. Another similar example, this is Pro Credit Bank and their headquarters in Bulgaria. They also raised 180 million through green bonds, and they also, being a bank, they also downstream gave green finance to various real estate developers in form of construction finance or green mortgages, and all of that was slightly better than the market rate. So they are also committed to their entire portfolio going green, and they have committed to a path of carbon neutrality. These are various case studies in Asia. As I said, you can go to the edgebuildings.com website, and under the projects tab, you will have all of these case studies. So these are select few case studies here in our continent and in our subcontinent. So closer home, a lot of the Indian projects you will see here. As you see, all different types of buildings, from warehousing to hostels, student housing, hospitals, hotels, residential, all types of buildings are covered. And this is primarily India itself. Sorry, I think I clicked on a link. Just give me 1 second. So, if you click on a link, you can go to the edgebuildings.com. So this is an example, but let me come back to the presentation. So this is the final slide, just as a recap. How is Edge different from other certification systems? First of all, it's backed by the World Bank Group brand. So that itself is a major differentiator, designed by International Finance Corporation. So designed by a financial institution. All global financial institutions understand and accept the certification system. There is a cost calculator which gives you the cost impact of each of your features on the fly. So in real time, by just picking a menu or unpicking a menu, you see what is the utility cost savings that you're making and what is the capital expenditure increase that you have because of that specific. So it is a great design tool. And from a decision-making perspective, whether you are a developer or an architect, it sort of brings that common ground between the two, so that, whenever you, let's say as an architect, if I'm proposing something to a client, then I know exactly what it is going to cost. And I have already taken into account the client's perspective of immediate cost versus future costs. It has a laser focus on resource efficiency. We are not a point-based system. It's actually a performance-based system. So on the three key major areas of energy, water, and the embodied energy, that is where it focuses, and it gives you exact environmental impact reporting. So bioclimatic modeling, Edge ensures that the context is always real. If you are building student housing in Raipur, then it is for that local context that you will get compared to it. You will get compared to the same building typology in the same climatological conditions, in fact, specifically the same geography. So that makes it very, very context relevant. And because it is technology backed, because of this strong database at the back end, it's a very streamlined process. And hence your certification system, your certification timelines get compressed significantly. And when time and effort gets compressed, then of course the cost also gets reduced. So that, in a nutshell, is how Edge is differentiated. Edge is funded by the UK government, and additional support has been provided by the countries of Austria, Canada, Denmark, EU, Finland, and other countries. So that brings us to the end of this presentation. And now I guess I'll pass it back to Anuj, and we can have some questions. Happy to answer those.
All right. Thank you so much, Sandeep, for a great session, I must say. So let's take us, because we have some questions in the chat box. So I'm just taking the questions. If you can just give the responses. So there's a one question from Nabanita Sharma, like, hey, I am a student of NTNU into sustainability. Last time I used it in the interface. Say so, like that person is asking, like they have used the Edge app, but I can uh, input data of only one project at a time, and it compares itself to base case. What if we want to put data on the base case ourselves, unlike the ZEB tool Norway?
So the base case will always emerge basis what you enter. So, whatever inputs you enter for your building, so it is not comparing it to another building or another hypothetical building. When you enter the data for your building, the base case will always keep changing. So let's say you go from a 2-bedroom to a 3-bedroom, the base case will change. When you choose a different income category, or even you change your other parameters, what sort of materials you're using, the base case will move accordingly. And once your basic parameters, in the design stage, whatever you change, your base case will change. But in the energy, water, and materials tab, which you change something, then the base case will not change, and it will compare it to what you put in the design case.
All right.
I hope that answers the question.
I hope so. Yeah. So next question, let's move to the next question. And before moving to the next question, I request to all whoever right now in the as attendee, they can raise your hand if they want to speak up. They can raise their hand, and I will unmute them for the questions. And if not, the speaking is not possible, you can put your questions in the chat box. We will take those questions. All right. So the next question is from Mr. Athoba. Like, for Edge certifying a building or a project, does it have to receive IFC financing to qualify?
No, the two are not linked. Any project in India can seek EDGE certification. Getting financing has a lot of other stringent criteria. Getting EDGE certification is in your control, how you design your building.
Right. So there's a question from Mr. Ashu. What are green bonds? How can these green bonds benefit to developer with going EDGE certification?
So I think I covered that in the presentation. So green bonds are like any other bonds. You have heard corporations issue bonds and raise finance against them. How is green bond different? Because there is a green criteria, a condition that is required. So when you go to an investor, you say, okay, lend me money. Then they will say, okay, what will you do with the money? When will you give me back? All of those things. So that's the regular financing part. But for green financing, they will ask one other question. What is it green that you will do with it? Are you going to use the proceeds for a green purpose? And your answer has to be yes for that. And then they will say, okay, if you're going to use it for green, tell me how you will set up the criteria and how will you show compliance. The criteria can be EDGE, and the compliance can be a final EDGE certification, can demonstrate compliance.
All right. So Sandeep, here is my question. Of course, I want to highlight more, because some of my clients, like developers like L&T or something, they want to understand, because they are already doing the sustainability. They are going for the projects which are green, but they want to understand how the green bonds can benefit to them. Is there any concessional rate they get from the financial companies, or what? How does it actually benefit it?
So in India, it's still a very nascent market, but a lot of our clients are gearing up to raise money. As we saw in the presentation, HSBC already gave a green loan to Indospace for their warehouses. Now, the benefit of green bond is actually you can raise green bonds in the international market. Of course, the RBI regulations and all that have to be taken into account. And I don't want to, that's a whole Pandora's box out there, but you can access the global financial markets. Now, having said that, globally, lot of the large, when we talk in the fund language, there are GPs and LPs, right? A lot of the LPs have made higher and higher allocation for green investments. So if there was a sovereign fund that had like $100 billion. Now they're saying, instead of saying, let's say 20% or 30% of my investments will go into green projects. So because they have made a higher allocation, they will give it only when a green project comes, right? So today we have a situation, incidentally, that the global green market, the green bonds market has more demand than supply. But for that purpose, a lot of the developers are gearing up. Of course, there has to be credit worthiness, the country risk, the currency risk, all of those things come into play, which anyway come into play regular financing. But this is an overlay. So when we talk about the benefit, overall in the global markets, we have seen that the cost of financing may be better by a few basis points, up to a maybe even 2%.
Okay. All right.
So this is for developers. I'll just give, while we're on that topic, in Philippines, recently, the equivalent of National Housing Bank here, the equivalent organization there recently came up with green mortgages for buyers of homes, right? When people go and buy homes, they take a mortgage loan. If you buy in a green project, you become eligible for that mortgage loan, and it is 2 percentage points lesser than the market.
Okay. Okay.
And when we're talking,
right. So you covered my the next question, which I asked, of course, in the chat box. So this is not happening in India right now, right?
No, it's not happening in India yet, but we expect to see some movement in that direction soon. But absolutely can't guarantee that the 2-point difference that you saw in Philippines will happen here. India is a very difficult market, different market, a very competitive market. But if you take the global trend into perspective, then we can expect some benefit. As we saw, in the other Bank Colombia case, there was a 65 basis point benefit for the green mortgages. So it may be a few basis points, or it may be 1 or 2 percentage points. It can be anything. Depends on how mature the market becomes and how quickly that happens.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Sandeep. I think you covered my question.
So, all right.
Anuj, you can skip my the next question because already covered. So
yes. So there's a one question from Mr. Jan. Like, how can we get information regarding the green bonds in India? So is there any platform like from where we get information and all?
So I think some of the key organizations that I mentioned, especially the Climate Bonds Initiative, so you can go to their website and find out, and it will give you a perspective of overall green bonds market. But like I said, a bond is a bond, right? Green is only one extra layer. So the best way to do it would be to talk to your investment bankers and figure out how you can access green bonds.
All right. So there are a couple of questions from Priyank. They're like, thank you, Sandeep, for the great presentation. So first question is, when does the financing start? After design audit, are there any penalties if they are not followed post site audit? So there's a first question.
So from EDGE certification perspective, you will basically not get the certificate if you don't follow, what. So the certification itself becomes, comes under a question mark, and the final certification will be according to what you finally complete. From a financing perspective, yes, you can start accessing green finance from a preliminary certification level itself. So when you are at a design stage or a construction stage of the building, and you get a preliminary EDGE certification, you can start accessing the green finance market. But at the same time, if you say some of the conditions were not qualified, then that, anyway, those, if somebody is given you finance, then they will put covenants and they will put control measures in place to make sure that, whatever conditions that they gave you money on, they are fulfilled.
All right. So the next question from for training in certification and audit, could you explain the process for young professionals who are interested? So I think so. The person is asking regarding the edge expert, the edge auditor, how the person can
Yeah.
be.
We also have my colleague Atif Sayed, who is the South Asia lead for the EDGE program, and he has been personally driving the new DFG course. May I request Atif to answer that question specifically?
Sure. Thanks, Sandeep. Hi, everyone. So on with regards to training, there are a few different levels of training that IFC provides directly and supports through other partners. One is what Sandeep mentioned, which is called the DFG training. DFG is a course that we have developed for young professionals and even for college students, and it is being offered through some university partners, and also for a limited time we are offering it online for free. I'll post the link on the chat box. So anybody interested can go through that, and they will get a certificate from IFC if they complete the course. Then the for edge experts and edge auditors. So these are professionals, independent professionals with some work experience in the market who want to work with either developers or investors or companies who are interested in getting edge certification for their projects. Uh, for them, there are again a few different options. I will again post a link here. We have some online training opportunities available through our partner GBCI, and we also are planning to do a face-to-face training in India. But of course, once the COVID situation becomes a little more manageable, we'll conduct that. So that is typically like a 2 or 3 day training, and it is followed by an online exam by Prometric. And once you pass through the training and exam, one can become accredited as an edge expert. Or if they want to work as an auditor, they'll have to take some extra training classes and do some audit projects, and then they can be accredited as that as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Atif. Like I think so, the questions is pretty clear, and the answers you have given covers all the things. So next question from Mr. Shonak, like how does the certification work for a housing project, especially when the developer typically sell and move out? Is it that the ads efficiency attainment to be shown within an year of operation will be a convergent on the developer or on the incoming house owners?
Okay, so as you earlier heard in the presentation, there are levels of certification. The first two levels, which is Edge certification and the second Edge advanced certification, those are both given only once. So they don't need to be renewed at the time of your completion of construction. You can get those certificates, and then it is, as we said, it's a design level certification. It's a design label. Only for zero carbon, it needs renewal every 2 to 4 years. Now, I agree that residential developments being zero carbon is still sort of in distant future, but it is possible. And if at all it happens, it will, the developer moves out and you are still wanting to demonstrate your building has zero carbon certification, then the residents will have to tackle that. So whoever owns the building has to tackle that.
All right. Thank you, Sandeep. And I think so answer pretty clear. So the next question from it's Priyanka. It's Priyank or Priyanka. I'm sorry, like because it's the connected name. So the question is the how were the baseline studies incorporated into the app?
So baseline studies are incorporated through extensive surveys, analysis of the existing regulations also, but in most emerging markets, it's not just the regulations. It is about what is really happening in the market. So all of those data points are gathered and then input in the system after a lot of surveys and standardization of that data, because raw data by itself can have a lot of variance. And so once that data is standardized, then it is input in the system. So it is, and that survey is done again and again every 2 to 4 years so that the baseline stays relevant. And that is the situation that we are in right now, that the baseline is going to move up in version 3. So the version 3 will have a slightly higher baseline.
All right. So there is a one more question from Mr. Ravi Kumar. He thank you, like Mr. Sandeep, thank you so much for session. The are edge certification only for the institutional levels or individuals can do it? How long is it going to take in India to get the whole concept getting implemented? Any mandatory policy from federal?
So edge certification are for buildings. Now, if a company owns the building, then the company can go for the EDGE certification. If an individual owns the building, so we are also if you are a single home owner, then also it is possible, and we are trying to make it more practical for single homes in association with some other housing finance companies that we're working with, and that product will also be rolled out hopefully soon. But yes, anybody who owns a building, whether a company or an individual, the certification is for the building. What was the second part of the question? It was a longish question. I missed that part. So
I'm repeating again. So how long is it going to take in India? Sorry, are edge certification only for institutional levels or the individual can do it? Yeah. So how long is it going to take in India to get the whole concept getting implemented? Any mandatory policy from federal?
So I don't know. EDGE certification is already here. We already have 6.5 million square meters, footprint in India. As you saw, lots of buildings are also currently EDGE certified. So I don't get the context of the question.
I believe the person is mentioning like any mandatory policy is going to come from the government and or the federal and for implementation.
Policies. So on the green building side, there are several policies, incentives that are already in place, and several mandatory policies that are already in place. So in most municipal bylaws, you will see, if you look at Bombay or any other, you need sometimes solar water heating, you need solar panels, you need water recycling. A lot of different things are mandatory, and a lot of things are given by way of incentives by the government. So you get extra FSI sometimes, or you get your environmental clearance fast tracked. So those are incentives. So the government is trying to make this happen from both ends, by making things mandatory and by incentivizing developers to go green. And that is a trend which is going to happen more and more. So we can expect, India has committed to the Paris Agreement in a few years back. And right now, again, this year, the government has reinforced its commitment towards the overall alignment towards Paris commitment. And, if we look at that and how will the government make it happen, they will come up with these more and more mandatory policies as well as incentives to make sure that the buildings that get developed are green.
Perfect. I think so. The answer is pretty clear to participant. So I think so we are good to go with the question around because it's almost 20 minutes. So thank you so much everyone for asking your questions. And I'm thankful to Atif for sharing the great links because she has posted the climate bonds details. Like if person wants to know the climate bonds, just go to the link. We have that the design for greater efficiency course. If people wants to opt for that code, it is freely available on the Edge website. Just go to that learn.edgebuildings.com. And if person wants to be an Edge expert, please visit the website and the link is in the chat box. So let's we are come closer to our session. Before closing, and I would request my colleague Ashu Gupta for the vote of thanks. And Ashu, over to you.
All right, perfect. Sounds great. I think Anuj, first of all, thanks to Sandeep for wonderful presentation. Sandeep, I attended, and this is something the green finance was the need of an hour. Every developer, every consultant is doing so many green building projects, but they are not aware what exactly the green finance and how the edge is incorporating in that. So for wonderful presentation, thank you so much, because I can see that so many questions are still coming up, but we cannot take up the reason of the time limit. And I'm pretty sure that people will reach out to your LinkedIn also, so they will get to know. And of course, the behind this presentation, I want to thanks to Atif and Sahil, who actually initiated this with Anuj, and it was a wonderful because I can see the response because more than 80-85 people attended this program, and these people are so much interested to understand. And I'm sure for the edge certification, out of I think 60-70% was not aware what is the edge certification, and they are from the construction community. So this is a great platform where we share the knowledge. And first, and thank you, Atif and Sahil, in back end of this entire session to having this. And of course, the Anuj, who has taken this initiative under the D2O learning to train or the capacity building to the more and more people. So every week we are doing this weekly seminar. Last week we did on water audit, and more than 100 people attended on the water audit that actually the CGW norms comes. When in future we are coming up with the carbon neutrality, because everyone is talking about the carbon neutral, how the companies can go, how the building can go. So we are coming up with those courses, with those sessions with the expert of their field, and intent behind it, because right now I'm in a consulting field. I have seen in the last 1 month the everyone, World Bank, GIZ, KFW, UNDP, UNEP, everyone is talking about the building energy efficiency. So it is very good to all of us that who are in this industry. This industry is going to in a big way, and I'm pretty sure everyone, every day, every single day, I'm learning a new thing. And today was also the thing where I understood this thing. I'm pretty sure there's a long way to go altogether, and I will be more happy. I would request that if you are not following the D2O learning pages and the D2O pages, please follow. You will get each and every week information what we are going to train every day. So thank you again, Sandeep, Atif, and entire IFC team. You are doing great work in India, and we D2O we look forward to have more coordination with all of you. Thank you. Over to you, Anuj.
Thank you, Ashu. Thank you so much. So I'm just giving a heads up for the next session. That is, we are doing with the PJMT Prem Jain Memorial Trust, and it is on the 17th of July next week. And it is a specially curated session for the students. So if any students have joined today the session, please, you are most welcome for the PJMT Gurukul series that we have, the Green Gurukul. Please join that one, because we have a great speaker, Mr. Sandeep and Mr. Sachin are coming, and I'll be the host there as well. So I'll be happy to interact with you. And we are doing with this session with the Sanskriti University, Mathura. And if anyone would like to know and join our the program, which is the Energy Simulation Mastery Workshop, we are starting our next batch from 19th of July. They can register, and they can just scan this QR code. They can register for the course, and we will be happy to onboard, because this is a 5th batch we are starting. We have already completed 4 batch, and you can have a feedback on our Trust Pilot paid platform. And I think so we are good to go. And thank you so much once again, everyone, for a great session. And thank you, Sandeep, especially because
thank you so much.
It was my first time like I interacted with you, and I hope like we will have a great association further. And thank you, Atif, for being here also. And Sahil, like he's not present, but yes, thanks to Sahil as well. So thank you, everyone. Please follow D2O Learning and Edge Buildings pages as well, because you will get regular updates from both the organizations. And if you want to know more about the Edge expert and the Edge auditor, because I am both Edge expert and a GBC Edge auditor, so you can reach out to me as well, and I can guide you on that platform. So thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. See you in the next session. Bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Have a good weekend.